Open the pod bay doors, please, pal.
All right.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Look at the coast. We get together, have a few laughs.
A Movie Odyssey with Brad Patello and Gus Trout.
This is probably going to be a pretty long episode. So this is basically going to be like 35 years of therapy for me. That I missed out on this movie.
I haven't seen this in a long time.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while for me too.
I fucking teared up.
Yeah, they really played it up. That scene, you know, it's a long scene, first of all, and
yeah,
you know, they really punch it home that he's dead. This
movie is brutal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is just there's so much death and mayhem in this movie that I guess
we should talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I guess it's on the fucking title.
I thought I was ready, but I don't know. We'll see
talk
how
about
this
the
goes.
Silver Lake for a little bit longer.
we can, yeah. So I guess I'll record like an intro. Hey, gang. What's up? My name's Brad Patello. I'm joined here on Zoom by my good friend Gus Trout. And today we are discussing the movie that broke Generation X, Transformers, 1986. The one, the only, I don't know, so much death, destruction, mayhem. And it was a toy commercial. That's the part that always blows me away, that they did it to sell toys.
They took this all the way. They didn't fuck around at all.
Apparently it was supposed to be even worse. Like, there were scenes that were cut that were even more brutal. Like, and
the pre-production and like the script, just in the script stage of what I read was just like, it was a complete disaster. I can't believe it. It honestly is, for like, I'm going to put hard air quotes on this, kids movie. They really, really tried, I think.
Yeah,
like
they were going for it.
The difficulty of animation. This is for the people out there that are not animators. I would just think about this. Try drawing Optimus Prime one time. And if it looks okay, then you're halfway there. But like,
and put every line in it. Don't skip lines.
Yes.
Add every line. Google a picture of him from the G1 show, and then recreate a drawing of him using every single line that you see. And then for the movie,
have 30 more characters. Yeah.
Well, also add a bunch more lines, because now we're doing highlights and shadows and glimmers and damage, cracks.
Sometimes there are like 3-4 levels of beyond the coloring. There's a black layer of shadow. There's 2 layers of then shade of shadow, darken, and then there's a highlight layer, which is just insane.
Yeah, like
and at that moment that's hand colored. So their hand, I don't know how. It's just insane.
Well, again, this was 86. I mean, there's definitely moments where you're like, oh, this is the 80s. Well, actually, that was the whole movie. We'll get into the soundtrack, which was amazing.
Yes.
The best soundtrack / score ever. The perfect mix of 80s rock anthems and 80s synth.
But it lands. It sticks the landing fucking hard. It feels right. The key is inserted. Oh, that sounds weird. I'm just saying that it works. The soundtrack works.
Oh yeah, I love this. I love the score. That's like one of my favorite parts. The score and the soundtrack, both the the anthem-y rock songs that are in it, that are throughout it, And then also there's like a synthy orchestral. It's like an orchestral score, but it's all synth.
I honestly, whenever You've Got the Touch comes in,
oh yeah,
there's a glimmer in my eye, man. I'm halfway to like a complete emotional wreck.
I love that song. Well, I guess we should provide a little backstory because I know a bit about this. I was 12 years old. I had a bunch of the toys. I had seen every episode on television. I was the exact target audience for this movie, and I left the theater a broken person. It made me a nihilist. I remember leaving the theater and thinking, life is a farce. We're all going to die, and nothing we do matters. And that philosophy has driven my life ever since then. It's been 35 years of broken dreams, death, misery.
But it's till all are one.
Till the 12 of us who survive are one. So few characters survive this movie.
They do a lot of like, hey, remember this character? He's dead. Hey, you remember that character you love? He's dead.
So the original toy line came out in 1984. And there was a couple things going on in the 80s, of course. You had the meteoric success of the Star Wars toys. So people just saw dollar signs. And then there were, in the 60s and 70s, regulations about kids' TV, like TV that was aimed at kids couldn't just clearly be a commercial. And a certain percentage of it had to be educational, quote unquote, which is part of the reason why Schoolhouse Rock exists, because, you know, they run one of those 3-minute episodes every hour or whatever, and they meet that quota and then whatever. But the Reagan administration lifted those restrictions. So the 80s just became a free-for-all of crass consumerism marketed at children. Here, we've got a toy, make a cartoon out of it, where the toy is like what you start with. There were several, and I think the Transformers and to a lesser extent Masters of the Universe has kind of transcended that now. Yeah. Because the franchises have become so iconic that, you know, you get stuff now where it's like Transformers Prime or something like that, which is a really good show where the toys are more of an afterthought. Like the show is the primary thing.
Right. You have all the kids that are like love the shit out of Transformers are now the people behind the.
Yeah, basically. The toys, by the way, are a lot cooler now. Like they were fairly clunky when they first come out. The first line of toys was actually pretty small. The 1984 line, which was the very first season of the show, there was like a 3-part pilot as sort of a test. And then they made 13 episodes as season 1. There was probably 20 Autobots maybe, and probably
so that
10 Decepticons maybe.
They must have started working on this movie like if it came out in 86, which is the year I was born, and it's also the best movie year. You got Big Trouble in Little China, you got Transformers the movie. I'll just stop there because I don't have a list in front of me, but god damn it. Come on.
The challenge.
But you know what I mean? Like if this came out and if this came out in 86 and the toy line started in 84, they had to start making this movie like.
Well, I don't know what the pipeline was, but a lot of characters that were introduced in season 2 were basically ignored in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1 was fairly minimal. There was not only a handful of characters.
Are they in like a cave all the time?
Well, they were in a ship that crashed into a volcano.
See, for me, I grew up just like catching the show randomly. I never knew. I didn't even understand what a season was. It just was like, oh, Transformers is on.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know I had much concept of it either.
Yeah.
But I was of the age where I watched it every day, and it was on every day. And you could kind of follow the threads. It was fairly episodic, you know, but the 3-part opener pilot involved, you know, the Autobots are losing the war. They escape and their ship crashes on Earth with Decepticons on it, and they lay dormant for 4 million years. And then the volcano erupts and reawakens the computer, and the computer reassembles everybody, and they fight.
Oh shit! See, yeah.
But so there were some
any of that.
characters introduced in season 1. You started off with a small handful of characters. The toy line was culled from like 3 or 4 different Japanese toy lines about robots that turned into stuff.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the scale in the movie too. But.
Yeah.
So they introduced the Dinobots about halfway through the first season. Then they introduced the Insecticons. In the 2-part finale, they introduced the Constructicons, which you do see in the movie.
It's fucking brilliant on the side. It's like, hey, we're gonna sell all these toys individually, or like for like a really expensive price, you can get them all at once, and it's just.
But you need them all to make Devastate.
Yeah, you need them all. Yeah. I don't like. I was so young when I was watching this that it's a distant memory. I just know that Optimus Prime basically was the coolest person ever to exist. And I'm going to say person because that's how I regarded him as. So when this movie came out, my mom rented it because she knew I like loved. Well, let's keep on going on my love for Optimus Prime. My brother, who was 6 years older than me, he had a best friend that lived like a house away. And he had the original Optimus Prime, like metal toy.
Yeah, it was a cool toy.
I was like, hey, is JP coming over, Owen? Like, give me tell him about bring Optimus Prime over. Yeah, like
play with my Optimus Prime.
Yeah, just obsessed.
He was a really cool toy. He was one of the
movie
cooler
comes out.
Toys. Yeah.
And Optimus Prime is a fucking straight badass. Like that when he comes in and just fucking rolls everybody.
Yeah.
Saves the day. And then dies. I know we're skipping ahead here, but it just like literally destroyed me. My mom had to stop the movie. She gave me a hard reset with like a bath and some kind of dessert, and then we carried on with the rest of the movie. But I was broken. I think it was the first like real connection with death I think I ever had.
Yeah, that's how a lot of us learned about death.
There's people dying throughout this entire movie from the fucking basically the first frame,
right?
But none of it matters as the score. Everything. And I was telling you earlier, maybe before we started recording, but like, even just watching it today, I teared up. I'm sure most of that's like nostalgic stuff, but like I wasn't under any influence. It was like 9:30 in the morning. I'm watching Transformers by myself and I'm choking up. It was rough.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
But anyways, maybe we should jump back. We'll jump back to the start of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, so season 2 introduced a bunch of characters that were basically ignored. I think they came out with so many toys that second season. There was the Stunticons, there was the Aerial Bots, there was the Combaticons, there was the Protectobots, all of which merged into a big thing because they figured they could sell more toys that way. There was a bunch of cars that were basically repaints of season 1 cars. A bunch more Decepticons. And it was almost like it was handed down. I'm sure it was handed down from the toy company. That's like every character must get an episode. Because every episode in season 2 is like introducing a new character. And you get ridiculous stuff like Warpath, the Autobot tank, traveling through time to medieval England and meeting King Arthur. That was literally.
I probably loved that episode too.
There's a couple episodes that deal with Transformer consciousnesses, which I kind of wanted to hit on here because there's just so much death. Like, what is the nature of their existence? Clearly, they're sentient beings, right? They all have unique personalities. They're self-aware. So they're mechanical beings, but they're alive. there's an episode in season 2 called Starscream's Brigade where Megatron and Starscream fight, as they are wont to do. Megatron kicks Starscream out, and he ends up on this island with all this washed up junk from World War II. So he rebuilds a bunch of it. This is the Combaticons origin story. And then he sneaks off to Cybertron because they had a space bridge at one point in the cartoon, and that was a big MacGuffin. Like, it was a instantaneously transport you to Cybertron. You remember that?
Yeah. No, I like the show, the series to me is, I haven't seen it in so long, and it would be like it's a faint dream.
Well, I rewatched a couple of episodes, including this one. It's really bizarre because I remembered the plot of it, and I remembered at the time thinking that's a really weird origin story for characters. So like he takes this old World War II era junk, he kind of fixes it up, and then he sneaks off to Cybertron on the space bridge, and he breaks some consciousnesses out of jail. Like the Decepticons have a jail on Cybertron where I guess there's like worse Decepticons. Like, why would the Decepticons need a jail? Aren't they all criminals? But
yeah.
So it's kind of implied, and he brings back these little parts, like 5 little cogs or boxes or something, and he plugs them into the machines, and they turn into Transformers. And so it's implied there that their personalities / consciousness is tied to a piece of hardware. And I guess if that hardware is damaged enough, then that Transformer dies.
Well, I think this movie, the Matrix, which in the Michael Bay ones they call the Allspark.
The Allspark.
But the Matrix
that was made up for that movie, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's canon here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it is, but this is a bit of a detachment, but I watching this movie, it was sort of my first introduction to like this kind of animation where it's very Japanese and like the camera, it's cinematic. Where
I always thought it was.
Not all Disney movies are necessarily cinematic. Sometimes they're more all about like it's more like a theater show, how they're having the characters where they're showing the entire character to like show them acting. It's not like over the shoulder reverse, you know what I mean? There's nothing like how most contemporary movies are made.
Yeah.
And there's lots of like sweeping camera moves in this movie and like where they'll like a Transformer will be like standing up into frame. And I was sort of like, damn, Michael Bay kind of like translated that earnestly. Like, I honestly think that like they are ridiculous movies, but Transformers is also Transformers. Like,
you mean the Michael Bay movies?
Yeah. But the first one is,
I kind of like the first one.
Enjoyable. Yeah. I
didn't mind it.
I was grinning from ear to ear in that first movie.
The second one though, I don't know.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, also they were on a writing strike and there's definitely cool action in it and stuff, but yeah, it's a disaster.
Yeah, I think the first one's decent. Did you see Bumblebee?
I watched it on a plane.
Pretty good, right? I mean,
I was actually hoping that was going to be really cool with the guy coming from Pixar or Laika.
It's the Laika guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as when it was made, I don't know, because it was done pretty quick. I think
which is insane. I can see it. Like, you can see it in the animation. Sometimes.
Well, there's definitely some shots where it's like, whoa, that's not their best work.
But man, they are going for it. Just worlds crumbling and being sucked into this giant, into Unicron, like all of Unicron's inner working.
In terms
of like the sheer amount of like work just for a single frame of one of these characters is just insane.
Oh yeah. It's so much detail.
And like I was saying, they're going for it. Like, the fights are good. Like it's not this like they're shooting back and forth, which does happen sometimes, but usually there is like a problem happening and then the character solves the problem, and then another problem happens and they have to solve that problem within the fight, just within the fight.
Yeah, it's good choreography. I mean, the first act is super tight as far as story.
Yes.
First act is great. As far as art and animation, it's a big step up from the show, obviously, because the show was done really quickly. Just 5 episodes a week.
Just the sheer difficulty of it, I just think has to, for the show, let alone for this movie. I give them a pass on any time that they're like reusing. Like what they'll do is they'll animate through to a point and then just reverse it.
Yeah. Or they'll loop stuff. Like if characters have the same design, but they're painted different. Like there's a bunch of characters that all have kind of the same design, but they have different colors to them.
Right.
So I think there's like the cassette tapes coming out of Blaster. It's like the same animation.
Yeah.
There's moments like that where it's like, okay, they looped it, but yeah, it's, the season 1 of the show is 84. Season 2 of the show, which was 40 episodes, was 85 to like January 86. This comes out June 86.
Yeah.
And then season 3 of the show, that fall 86.
I mean, obviously there's multiple studios working on all this stuff, but it's still insane.
I think it was all Sunbow. I didn't look into that too much. The animation was
they might be like farming it out to like multiple studios throughout Japan and
probably. I mean, it was produced in the US though. That surprised me to learn that, because you kind of assume it's Japanese because it has that sensibility and that look to it, but it's clearly inspired by Japanese animation like Gungams and stuff. But
yeah, I think there is something about like the Optimus Prime not having a mouth and he has the like shield guard, which is a Gundam thing. That design, it's just so cool. I can't, obviously Gundam and like the original Gundam is so transcending and
it's easier to
like
animate too.
Adore. Yeah, that's true.
This goes up and down.
Why didn't they do it to like what Soundwave? A handful of characters does.
Yeah, a bunch of characters got that. That was in the toy too. That was how he looked. That was how the toy looked. And the Soundwave toy as well.
Starscream.
I thought Soundwave's design is really cool. Like,
Soundwave.
Just awesome. The fact that he doesn't really have a face, and just the shapes on his head.
Very iconic. I mean, Optimus Prime, Megatron, Starscream, and Soundwave just alone, their voices.
Well, that's something I wanted to get into as well. The voice cast, like you had so many people acting in this movie. Obviously, you had the big names that they brought in for the movie. Two
famous people's last movie credit.
Yeah. So Orson
Welles and Scatman Crothers.
Yeah. Orson Welles died 5 days after they recorded his dialogue.
I was reading that like they had to add all this like synthesized shit to it to like, cause he was like wheezing and coughing so much. He was so fucked up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess he came in and said, I heard I'm a whole planet. And he's like 6'4" and like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
I guess he was good to work. They said he was good to work with, though. The director spoke highly of him. There's, famous videos of him yelling at people who are shooting commercials that he's in. But
right, the wine commercial is like
where he's clearly drunk.
Yeah,
but I guess he was gracious, and they spoke highly of him, the directors. So it's Orson Welles,
and I think
in
that
his last performance,
his performance it's awesome. Like Unicron's awesome.
Yeah.
He's doing some really cool stuff. Like when he like his yell at the end about destiny, I am destiny or whatever. Like it's great.
Yeah. He had more dialogue than I remembered too. He's got a few pretty good lines. Like Megatron says, nobody summons me. And then he says, well, I'm the first then. Or something.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I like that bit.
So you had Orson Welles, Eric Idle. as the motorcycle junk guy. He's in there.
Yeah, he's great. Those guys are awesome.
Leonard Nimoy,
guys,
of course.
Yeah, Leonard
Nimoy and Robert Stack.
But
Robert
Hot
Stack.
Rod. Judd Nelson.
Nelson.
Yeah, from Breakfast Club.
Really hamming it up here, by the way.
He does two characters.
Well, Hot Rod and Rodimus
Hot
Prime.
Rod. Oh, yeah, just Hot Rod. I thought I saw earlier he had two.
Well, Rodimus Prime.
Yeah, I know, but I thought like completely different. Not.
Yeah, Judd Nelson's really hamming it up. His line delivery is like, "Talk about dull, Daniel."
What does he say? At Lookout Mountain.
Yeah.
When I was watching this movie basically on repeat back in the day, I mean, my mom and I was talking to my mom after I watched the movie to get the story about me losing my shit after Optimus dies.
Yeah.
But we were trying to figure out how old I was. I was probably 5 or 6.
That's young. I was 12 and I was like crushed.
So much of this movie, I just watched this when I was so young that there was so many words and battalion and electrolytes. I don't know. They're saying all these they're just saying all these words that like a 5-year-old does. I don't know. I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. So it was interesting to watch this movie again and be like, oh, I get all of the references, all of the stuff that like the common senses they're saying. I mean, this movie isn't really aimed for. The dialogue is kind of, some of it is.
It's that Star Trek. Let's throw in some techie sounding words occasionally to make it sound like we know what we're talking about. Even
whenever he's like, "That's a whopper," about the size of the fish or something, I just remember being like, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
His acting, I don't know. I think he kind of phoned it in, Judd Nelson.
I did. Well, yeah, he's been phoning it in since.
But this is 85.
St. Elmo's Fire.
Why is he phoning it in 1985? Isn't this like at the height of his popularity?
Yeah, because he was doing the most cocaine possible.
Okay.
Another thing I noticed was all the setups in this movie. With Hot Rod, especially, he has the most setups, I would say, and payoffs.
Where he catches
the Matrix
thing when it falls out, and there's a moment.
And then I do always remember this from when Ultra Magnus, when he goes to put it in, it doesn't fit, and he has to reset it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why the fuck they do that? Oh, because that's like a little foreshadowing thing.
It's not really his.
Yeah. And there's another thing where he says something about like, no, like we'll use the Matrix and it'll work. And
oh yeah. He says, yeah, it will work.
Yeah. Cup's the best. Cup's the best fucking character ever.
Cup. Did you look up that voice actor, Lionel Stander?
No,
because he was in like silent films. He's like an old, nobody would know. I didn't know who he was until like this last viewing, and I looked him up, and apparently he's like a legendary actor. He was like 82 years old here.
Really?
And yeah, he was in a ton of stuff.
I just think that I've always liked that character, but I remember another one of my brother's friends had that toy.
The Cup toy?
Yes, and finding it was like, it might as well found like a dinosaur bone or something. Like it was just like, because all these toys by then, I'm 6 years out from even realizing, what Transformers is from my brothers who are 6. My brother was 6 years older.
So you're like removed from the original.
Yeah. So like finding all of those toys, I'm just so out of that, enjoying whatever that. It's kind of like in oh shit, what's the Christmas, the Polar Express? The whole thing is like, that you adults can't hear the jingle bells anymore.
Oh yeah.
I can't hear the bells towards toys anymore. I just don't give a shit. I used to think it like for such a long time I was into toys, like way longer than I should have been.
Oh yeah. I mean, I still have a bunch of old Transformers and He-Man
toys.
Yeah. I got a bunch of, yeah, you've probably seen them. right?
Yeah, when I helped you move, I was like, oh shit, it's Beastman. Oh shit, it's the guy that changed his face. Two-Face. I don't know what his name was.
Man E faces. My kids have destroyed most of them now, but I don't know. I still have the old comics. Yeah, I was a big fan. Those were my favorite toys when I was that age. I kind of started to age out of it because the movie, you know, it's part of the same continuity. You get 2 seasons of the show, then you have the movie where it jumps 20 years ahead, and then season 3 picks up where the movie leaves off. So it's all part of the same continuity. I think there was a 4th season too, but I think it kind of got canceled mid 4th season because I'd kind of started to age out of it at that point. I was starting high school and
I was getting married.
No. So this movie, this was the end of my, I guess every generation has their sort of end of innocence moment. You know, the boomers had JFK, you all had 9/11, we had Transformers 86. It was Gen X has never been the same. We're a generation of nihilists and agnostics, and
let's just talk just from the beginning of this movie.
All right, let's talk about the cold open.
Yes,
the cold open of the movie before the credits roll.
Yes,
so you get Unicron. Introduce
great shots. That shot of the sun kind of shooting like big, like solar flares out, and he's rounding. Yeah,
I was gonna say I love those first few shots, and the one where it kind of zooms by, where it's
it's incredible.
So much detail, and then we see him kind of going off, and then we see inside of him.
I would say
that shot's great too. The inside where he's looking out.
Yeah, the shot where he comes past camera and it shows the size of it. That shot can be put up with the Star Destroyer at the beginning of the first Star Wars. It could be, they do the same thing in Alien, and they showed how massive that ship is. But this one is animated, and with that, that just changes the whole game and how they're able to. There's like a clarity in the chaos because it's zooming past. So it's like you're going like thousands of miles past this giant planet, right?
That is an amazing.
Like, oh my God, it blew, but the music is so fucking depressing.
Yeah, Unicron has a theme. Whenever he appears, that music plays, and you're just like, oh shit. They establish the stakes right away.
Yeah,
there's some big stakes.
And they do a good job of it. Like, I always this is one of my biggest pet peeves with movies is establishing a alien planet and with a civilization, and there's cars and people and they're talking. And I think most of the time it's just complete shit. Like when I think of like Wonder Woman, when she's on her island and they're all walking around with baskets of apples and their armor still, it's just like, what the fuck is this? This is so stupid. Like Guardians of the Galaxy does it pretty well, where it feels like an established, lived in space. Sometimes that it just feels like concept art. And it's this insane cathedral, but like who the fuck would live in here? What are they actually doing in it? Like there's no tangible quality to it. But watching this movie, I'm like, oh shit, this is sweet. There's like a nice pan shot of all the like the city street or whatever.
And children, can I just point out that there are children playing? All right, so
they're robots. It's cool.
Well, all right. Unicron is approaching a planet, and we cut to the planet. We see that there's a civilization thriving on it. They're robots, and that's another weird thing about this movie is that it kind of speculates that all life in the universe is mechanical. Like the only biological life you see is humans. Like every other life form you see is some kind of robot or mechanical being. Even the underwater creatures in that one scene.
Yeah.
There's like robot fish and a robot squid and robot seaweed.
They just went full robot. You got to go full robot. You can't introduce fucking slimy aliens. And
is that because they're going to kill them all and they don't want us to feel anything, or is it just that's the style of the universe that they're?
I think it's so many things. It's the fact that they can kill everything without feeling bad about it. They can,
but they're clearly sentient.
They can make toys out of it.
Well, the toys are cool. That they're sentient beings. They're clearly alive and conscious with self-awareness.
Well, I think it's the idea of like, maybe we have a maker, because like the whole thing with Prometheus and stuff.
Yeah.
That there's like another maker out there, some that's so galactic and
well, did you ever see any season 3 episodes after the movie? Because it's established that the Quintessons actually invented the Transformers.
Oh, and the Quintessons are the
judge
first planet
trial thing.
Oh, yeah, shit.
Where
Yeah.
they're dumping people in the shark pit.
Guilty.
People get dumped in a shark pit in this movie. Sentient beings.
This movie has it all. It has a court case. It's a court case drama.
Chase scenes, fight scenes.
It has underwater odyssey. Chase scenes, big battles, a battle that lasts all day and night.
Yeah, that was a cool. Yeah, you see the sun come up the next day, and
some really great one-on-ones. One of my favorite one-on-one, other than the obvious Optimus and Megatron facing off, is the lead Eric Idle's character. He faces off of the guy that turns into a fucking helicopter and a car.
Springer.
Sorry, I always forget his name. They have a great fight.
Mm-hmm.
That whole sequence is, well, hell, we're going to get to it.
The Weird Al music playing.
I thought that was Devo.
It's Weird Al.
Oh shit!
It's like his Devo style song, which makes sense for the
sweet.
Okay, so Unicron eats this planet with the civilization on it. So they all die, right? So we find out. All right, here's what happens. If you're eaten by Unicron, this is what happens to you.
It's like the Matrix.
It's big gaping maw, and he's got like mandibles that pull your planet in, like just kind of crushing your planet.
He sucks you in, kind of. There's some kind of suction going on.
Yeah, there's like a gravity thing that pulls you in. And if you survive that, you are incinerated in a vat of acid.
But ultimately, he is devouring planets to like energize himself.
Right. But the beings that actually survive the process are put on a conveyor and they're hoisted up, and there's like a hook holding them, and then they're dropped into a giant vat of acid. We see a close up of a guy melting who's clearly recognizable as one of the sentient robots on the planet he just ate in the cold open. One of them's clear, and there's a guy flailing in agony. This face melts off, and then he's just incinerated.
Fucking brutal.
And then the last guy, the last survivor of this race, makes it off on a shuttle. He survives long enough to give our heroes an exposition dump, and then he is eaten by sharks. So that's the story of the planet that gets eaten by Unicron in the cold open. We're not even to the opening credits, and millions or possibly billions of sentient beings, including children who we saw playing. They made a point to show us children playing, and scientists who we know they're scientists because they carry trays of beakers.
Yeah, with liquid in it.
Full of different liquids. They all died a horrible death. We're not even to the opening credits, and there's probably 1 billion deaths.
Now, hard cut to some rock and roll music of Transformers theme, which
to make us feel better,
is so good. Whenever the robotic part, robots in disguise with the robot voice, I thought that was the coolest fucking thing.
When it goes into the O in movie, and it's like the Doctor Who tunnel.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, the soundtrack is pretty sick. We talked about it a little bit, but I've got a couple. You got the Touch and Dare on my iPod. They're on frequent rotation. I find the song Dare incredibly inspirational. But I forgot how many just rock anthems are in this movie. There's like 6 or 7 of them. There's the Weird Al song.
Well, when they're thrown into a sticky situation, you're gonna have some sweet rock music getting them out of it.
So there's a couple voice actors too we didn't talk about since the credits are now rolling. We're a billion deaths in, and now we've got opening credits. We talked about all the famous people, but I want to give a shout out to like Frank Welker as Megatron. He was great. I mean, he was Fred Jones and Scooby-Doo and just a ton of other voices. He's
the voice acting is like all in all pretty solid.
Yeah. Even from the famous people they brought in. Usually when they do an animated movie, it's one of my pet peeves is when they bring in like famous names who aren't necessarily voice actors.
Yeah.
And they don't do a good job. I feel like Hot Rod here could have been better. Hot Rod overall was my least favorite character, probably. Because they tried to replace Optimus Prime with him, and that marketing gimmick, that very cynical marketing gimmick, backfired spectacularly. Nobody bought the Rodimus Prime doll. Everybody was super pissed that they killed Optimus Prime. They got tons of angry letters. One kid locked himself in his room for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was probably me. I just blacked it out. Yeah, they just like throw in all these new characters. They kill off all your loved characters or have them change, which, you know.
Well, that's the other thing too, is the Autobots dying. That's the nothing matters part of like how I felt when I left the theater. The Autobots all die horrible deaths. The Decepticons don't. They Starscream dies, but he comes back as a ghost in season 3.
He finally gets it. His little
well, let's Starscream.
Yeah, he's great. He's such a great character.
Chris Latta, brilliant performance.
Oh, so good. So memorable.
Yeah.
And a great name, Starscream. You're going to remember that one too. It goes hand in hand with his voice too. It's just perfect. When they intercept the ship that's going to Earth to warn them, and they like blast through the hull and just are like ripping through the innards of the ship to get into the cockpit, and Megatron's like, I think he says, "Die, Autobots," or something like that. It's just like,
it's brutal.
It is brutal. And then they're shooting them, and there's one of them. As he's dying, his eyes fade. Oh yeah, and Prowl. Smoke is coming out of his mouth, and it's just visually brutal.
Yeah,
like it's like a war movie. Like it's, and like you were saying, like when those guys are in the vat of acid and they're melting, it's handled in a very like mature way.
Yeah, kids movie, man. This is a movie intended for children. There's a character that gets his head crushed under a tire. We see him later though, and his head seems fine. But
well, that's in his bug form.
Yeah, but it's the same head, just turned around.
Yeah,
yeah. That first. So we're into the act 1 here. We've got. I wanted to also shout out to Peter Cullen too, the voice actor who did Optimus Prime. He was. Yeah. I think you listen to the commentaries and you listen to interviews of people who are involved with this movie, and they really have a lot of regrets about killing Optimus Prime. They're like, wow, I didn't know that would happen. I didn't know people would be mad. They don't get it. They didn't know what they had. And I think it was Peter Cullen's performance, because he brought this kind of gravitas to it, his like baritone. Oh, and he plays the character in everything. He's in the Michael Bay movies. He's in Transformers Prime. He's in the Bumblebee movie.
I mean, I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but I mean, his death scene is like, what half of it is him. I mean, like the music's really good and somber and stuff, but like Peter is killing it.
Yeah, he's really good. I mean, and I think just the two of them, like the character plus the voice actor, just made it. I mean, you look at the character and it's like he turns into a truck, and his head kind of looks like a construction helmet. He's a working class hero. He's like your dad, I don't know. I think it says something about change, and
Yeah, it's funny to think
losing a paternal figure. He was very much a father figure to a lot of people, who watched the show.
there was a weird love. Well, kids do like anything like tractor trailers and construction stuff.
Yeah.
Just like inherently, I don't know what, for whatever reason, like every boy loves that shit, basically. Oh no, my phone's low.
Uh-oh.
At 20%.
Oh no.
We got this. It'll be fine.
Well, we're still in Act 1 though.
Yeah. Well, I can always switch over something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
So if you're going through the plot, Act 1 is basically just killing the cast. There's a giant battle. You establish it is the futuristic year of 2005.
Yeah. The Decepticons do a surprise attack on the Autobots on their Earth base, and there's a long battle, and Optimus makes it there just in time, and he comes and fucking cleans house. When Optimus he's in truck form. What does he say? Right before
must be stopped.
Yeah.
No matter the cost.
No matter the cost. And then the song, and then You've Got to Touch comes in. He transforms. He's fucking burning down. He rips through a couple dudes, and then he does like a blast off and does this 180 flip while like shooting through the air.
I love that shot.
That's my favorite shot in the movie. It probably it's so cool. It was probably the coolest thing I'd ever seen up to that point, and it still is awesome.
And the shot where he lands too, it's like you see his feet come down in the foreground. It kind of tilts up, and you see him blast a few last guys that he missed.
Yeah, from the hip. Yeah,
it's good stuff. So everybody dies except for like 12 people,
and none of them are characters that we have any attachment to, other than what we have led up to.
The deaths are treated so casually too. It's like you see RC dragging Windcharger's dead body, and it's just like, oh, I guess he's dead. And then she sets him down next to Wheeljack, and it's like, oh, I guess Wheeljack's dead too.
Right. That's what I was saying earlier. It's just like, well, shit, we got all these characters that we don't,
There were a lot of characters.
Yeah.
I mean,
for how many characters are in this movie? You remember? I mean, maybe it's just because the series helped or something, but like, I don't know, like it holds that well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a complete mess. Most movies are a complete mess when you have that many characters going on.
Act 1 is Act 1 is awesome. Act 2 is like, meh, it sort of starts to get a little weird.
It gets really depressing whenever like they're throwing out all of the old Decepticon. I do like how there's like this nice transition between how the Autobots handle death and then how the Decepticons handle death. Because we go right from Optimus Prime's very somber, very depressing death scene where he turns gray and his head like falls off or something. And it just flaps to the side there.
Yeah, it's like they really want you to know he's dead. They really, really want you to know that. They linger on it. And then we cut to Astro Train. Let's talk about scale for a minute here. Astro Train is just as tall as Starscream in robot form.
Yes.
But they all use him to escape. He turns into a train.
But he's like, it's just enormous inside. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's empty too. There's no seats. They're all just sitting on the floor. And then he takes off and he transforms into a shuttle, but he's got to flip over.
Now, Megatron turns into a little pistol that Starscream holds.
Oh yeah, there's scale all over the place. Like,
and Unicron is bigger than like every single planet he comes in contact with until Cybertron, where all of a sudden he's like standing on top of it once he's transformed.
I wonder if Cybertron's, I don't know, you never get a sense of scale of like, I guess I just got the impression Cybertron was a really big planet. But yeah, there are scale issues everywhere. I mean, Soundwave is like 30 feet tall as a robot, but he's like he turns into a cassette deck and he's like a foot tall that a dude could carry around.
Yeah.
So they all get away on Astro Train. I actually wrote down, I took very few notes here, by the way.
I did too. I just really
I was just watching it.
Yeah.
I did write down poor Astro Train because he's got to carry them all back. But yeah, he flips over and you don't show the inside of him, where clearly all the Decepticons who are just sitting on the floor that is now the ceiling, like crumbled around. And anyway, so even though he's in space and there's no gravity, he tells them he needs to lose some weight because he doesn't have enough fuel to get back. So, we go right from this somber death scene of Optimus Prime right into the Decepticons just dumping each other out of the shuttle.
And infighting.
Yeah, and then they fight over who's next, like who gets to lead. There's some fun dialogue there too when they're fighting.
Yeah, the first interaction with like half dead Megatron and Unicron, I think as a kid it slowed down too much for me, but on this rewatch I was like, oh, this is pretty sweet.
I like that scene.
Yeah,
I also like the transformation animation when he's becoming Galvatron. Like,
yeah,
he turns into wireframe, and then you got to keep reminding yourself this is all drawn. Like, none of this is computer. And there's some amazing detail in this movie, like we've just been gushing about the whole movie. Unicron, some of the shots of him, like, well, there's a whole sequence of shots where they transform Autobot City, where they're preparing for the battle, and there's some really cool shots there.
They don't make it easy for themselves at all. Like
So
every scene has, I mean, yes, there's cycles and they're reusing animation, like I said, well, they'll like play it in reverse. But every, maybe other than a Pixar movie, which I'm sure still uses tricks, but like they really don't. They're fucking going for it hard.
Well, obviously, you were mentioning the camera moves. Those are animated too. The backgrounds, they had to animate the backgrounds.
Animated backgrounds a lot of the time.
Where there's like a Michael Bay like move where a character stands up and the camera like swings around him.
Yeah, and just the sense of scale. Yeah, like within the animation. I mean, like they're just drawing the character bigger than smaller, but I mean it's cool. I mean, like I said, they're fucking going for it.
Well, yeah, the detail, there's like in the third act, Unicron transforms into a robot.
Yeah, and then they shoot his stomach, and it like all this water comes out of nowhere, and they're like going through this like rapids thing, and the water's painted and stuff. It's crazy.
But like I was going to say, there's some cool animation there when he's transforming too. Like
and just and just the sheer amount of characters on screen at any given time.
Oh God, yeah. Like
all right, we're going to introduce the underwater scene. Okay. How we're going to introduce that? Well, we're going to have like all these fish going, and these other fish are eating these fish, and it's not just once. It's like 5 different times that the fish,
That was one sequence that I had completely forgotten about. That there's a whole underwater battle with the robot squid.
Yeah.
Some reason that was a good. I mean, again, we talk about robotic
Autobots,
life forms.
Well, okay. Well,
the 12
if you
of them.
haven't seen this movie, real quick, to go back a little bit, Unicron rebirths a new version of Megatron and his gang.
Yeah,
Galvatron.
All the Decepticons that get dumped get new bodies,
which I think those designs are sweet.
Yeah,
I always thought they were cool.
Yeah, Galvatron's a really cool character.
Yeah,
he was a terrible toy though. I had the Galvatron.
Oh,
toy.
really?
Yeah, it sucked.
Well, I'm glad I never had it then.
Yeah, but he was. He looked
Leonard
good in the
Nimoy
show.
Steps in.
Yeah, so now he's Leonard Nimoy. He was Frank Welker, and now he's.
Yeah.
But in the show, he goes back to being Frank Welker. So.
And then Galvatron goes back and rains on Starscream's parade real hard.
Yeah, Starscream's like getting himself crowned king of the Decepticons.
When they keep on like that part's pretty funny. I remember it always med me laugh before, but
or they're playing the trumpets.
Yeah, and they keep on playing it, and then he shoots them all.
Starscream dies. The only real Decepticon to actually die in this. Actually,
and
I know
it's like a Raiders of the Lost Ark, kind of death.
Oh yeah, he gets shot once and then he turns to dust, basically. Yeah. And the crown falls and he crumbles. He crumbles away.
The animation on that crown, the weight of it falling down the steps
when it's going down the stairs. Yeah,
really good. Really, really good
shot a lot.
Yeah.
There's some
really
effects.
Effective.
Some of the effects animation is pretty good too. Like the explosions and like things getting broken and
which is just so much of. Much of.
Oh well, yeah, everything
crumbling debris. Yeah.
When Unicron's eating that planet and like the buildings are like falling apart and they start to fall down, but then the gravity gets them and they start to go up instead.
Now, there's one thing. There's some like horrible stock sound effects in this movie, where when Unicron's like insides are like devouring all the things.
Oh,
it's literally like
it's like the Hanna-Barbera chomp sound effect.
Yeah.
So the matrix of leadership, which is newly introduced to this movie, we'd never seen it before, but apparently Unicron's afraid of it, so he wants Galvatron to destroy it, makes a deal with him. And sort of Act 2 becomes a chase movie. The Autobots, the 12 of them that survive the battle, get on 2 different ships and are separated because they need to fill 90 minutes. One of them crashes into a planet.
I like that the separate adventures that they go on. I think it works.
Well, I do like the art design of like the different planets. You see a bunch of different.
Yeah, it's fun. All the different planets and different ships and stuff, and the whole like world building of it.
This, the extension of the universe feels logical. Like the planets they encounter and the life forms they encounter feel like they fit in that universe. And just the designs are really cool. Like the Quintessons planet, where it's all kind of, well, everything's mechanical, but it's all like kind of art deco.
It's not a round. Yeah. It's not like a round planet. It's a crazy shaped. Yeah.
There are other Autobots go to the junk planet, which I think also has some really cool art design to it.
Also, I just like how the backgrounds of that planet and all the trash and shit.
Yeah. There's some nice background paintings.
Yeah.
There's shots where there's parallax, they're using a multi-plane.
Yeah.
Different layers of paintings. And then every planet that they visit has a unique look, and so you always know where you are. Like when they're cutting back and forth from the Quintesson planet to the Junkion planet,
Yeah. The junk planet, those characters too, like that's really well thought out. Like they're also just getting bits of information and scraps of, TV shows and radio and stuff. So that's how they talk.
So I guess they have separate adventures. The Hot Rod and Cup and the Dinobots escape from the kangaroo trials of the Quintesson planet.
Another hard laugh though in that is when the Dinobots break the door down on top of the the bailiff or whatever he is. And the one's like, excuse me, or whatever. I remember just thinking that like, that was a gut buster as a 6-year-old. The
Dinobots are the comic relief.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always when I was a kid watching it, I always wondered why they got so much airtime. And now it's because without comic relief, this would be such a dreary slog, this movie.
When you see the Dinobots, you can, in either form, you can just see how they transform. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. During all this, Galvatron had attacked Ultra Magnus and blew him to bits in a scene that was supposed to be even more graphic, but they cut it back. The Junkions rebuild Ultra Magnus.
Some glue and shit.
Yeah, so they're good at building things. They join the battle. They all kind of rush.
I love when they're having the battle of the Autobots and they're like, they get knocked down off of and then the one transforms and the other one jumps on. They like switch roles. That whole concept of those characters throughout, how they talk, their whole culture, and how
Oh yeah,
how they fight and stuff is really well thought through. As a kid, did you want is it Daniel?
Oh, the exosuit.
Fuck yeah. Transform it.
Oh, we forgot to mention that during all this that Unicron is now attacking Cybertron. There's 2 moons. Cybertron has 2 moons. The Autobots have secret, quote unquote, secret, even though everybody knows they're there, bases on the 2 moons. Unicron eats the moons, and several of the characters, including Daniel's father, get sucked into him.
Spike. Yeah. The design of Spike and Daniel is very like late 70s anime.
Yeah.
Their haircuts and shit.
Plus the sort of Gungam suits they got.
Yeah, their suits are so lame comparatively to like the cool designs of all the Transformers.
So Spike is like working with Bumblebee on the moon, one of Cybertron's moons.
Yeah.
He's like stationed there.
He's like, yeah, I can't wait to see my son again just after we kick Megatron and the Decepticons to the other side of the universe or something.
So is he just working on his own, or is
he's working alongside with the,
is the Earth government like sanctioning this? Do they? I don't know.
The state of mind that I have in this movie is still that of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't really, I have never questioned these things that you've questioned. Like, why aren't there others? Like, why aren't there aliens of like that are slimy and
it's all robotic aliens. Yeah. Maybe that makes sense though. Maybe that's like
in the universe that this exists in, aliens are robots.
Well, wouldn't the logical next step of our evolution be like merging with our technology and having our brains transplanted into Elon Musk designed cyborgs?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, fuck, our phones are like, if I like get up from the TV room and go to the kitchen and I don't have my phone, I sort of have like a slight panic attack. Where? Okay, it's just on the couch.
Well, yeah, that's
you don't need to pick up your phone, Gus. You're cool. Like, just leave it there, man.
That's the first
then I
step.
Pick it up.
First step toward automation of the human race. Since we're kind of addressing weird philosophical questions, if Transformers have gender, does that mean they reproduce sexually?
I don't know. What's her face and Hot Rod are going back and forth.
It's a pretty good deal for her, pretty bad deal for everyone else. If she's like the only female, she's pretty much got her pick. If that's how they reproduce.
It's probably bad for her, yeah. Because now it's I love that too. Like, shit, we got to put one female character in her. Yeah, fuck it, make her pink,
and she's pink.
Give her lipstick. Yeah,
and she's like kind of got this sort of motherly instinct with Daniel too. Like,
yeah.
So apparently, even sentient robots can't escape traditional gender roles. So I don't know. Transformers.
Her and Springer kind of have a thing going on too, even though
it's like it's
not really addressed. Yeah,
triangle between RC, Springer, and Hot Rod.
Yeah, this movie's got everything.
So I don't know. I really kind of don't think Transformers reproduce sexually, even though I'm sure there's the Rule 34 of it, but it can. I think that RC's gender expression is just part of her unique personality. I don't know. I don't know how Transformers reproduce. Maybe they build each other. On the one planet, we saw children.
Yeah.
If there are children, again, that implies that they reproduce sexually. They have offspring that then grow, and they're robots. Does that make sense? Yeah,
there's like little nanomachines, and they just keep. Who knows? I don't fucking know.
Sex life of robots.
I think we could write a script.
I'm sure it's been done.
Transformers.
I'm sure it's been done. I don't want to know. Don't send me. If you're listening, don't send me Transformer porn, please. I'm sure
send it over to me.
Send it to Gus. I'm good. All right, so Act 3, we kind of went through Act 2. Act 3 is like a big battle with Unicron. Does anybody die here? Does there's the 3 jets, Decepticon jets die, Thrust, Dirge, and Ramjet? There's a shot where they kind of fly into his mouth and then he bites down on them and they explode. Is that the end of them? I didn't notice that before.
You almost think that the trash people die, but they make it.
They come back in the show too.
I really like the setup where Hot Rod thinks he gets separated from the group and he thinks he finds the Allspark or the Matrix. And
Same.
Sorry. Yeah, there's some nerd that is listening to this has just like lost his fucking mind. He sees the Matrix and just it's like how it's encased in black and it's actually like, you know, Galvatron's just standing there, but he's, you know,
that
shadow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Just that whole sequence is pretty cool. That fight's halfway decent too.
Much of Act 3 takes place inside Unicron because several of the characters, I like how they burst through his eye in the Quintesson ship. They go into his eye. There's several, so they end up rescuing. Who was on? We got Jazz and Cliff Jumper voiced by Casey Kasem, and Jazz voiced by Scatman Crothers in his final performance. Are also eaten because they're on the moon, and then Spike and Bumblebee. Oh, right, yeah. Are on the other moon, so they're inside of him. They get rescued from melting in acid. That's Danny's like trial, like is like he becomes a man right there. He saves the day when his dad is like, Daniel, save me. Use your fucking blaster, Daniel. He's like fucking like. There's really, it just comes down to like bad. He's like, you did it, son. And he's like, the shot of Danny is like, yeah, I did it. And then he has like this like blank look on his face. I think it's just bad voice. Like the voice acting doesn't match and like the acting isn't very good in the animation, but Spike says shit.
Oh yeah.
In the version did you watch, was there a shit?
It didn't, you know, I cuss so much that I don't know.
All right. That was a big deal. Might have
washed over me.
That was a big,
I did read about that.
That was in ADR. They did that in ADR and they did it so they could get a PG rating. Because, can you imagine like giving this movie a G rating that you can kill billions of sentient beings in horrible ways, but God forbid you say the word shit.
Yeah.
Now we're going to slap it with a PG. Now it's not a kid's movie anymore. There's all this death and destruction in it, and sometimes in some edits of the movie, they cut it out. So I was saying, what version did you watch? Did you rent it? Or?
I rented it on, I have the VHS still.
Okay.
But I didn't feel like breaking it out. And I watched whatever there's like a newer edition, like the 2005 edition or something like that, or the 30th anniversary edition is what it was, or something like that on the on Prime that I rented.
Okay, I again took the opportunity to get myself a Blu-ray. I had it on VHS, and was the quality? Because some Blu-ray stuff like animate, like a lot of the it was not very well mastered at all. Yeah, the Studio Ghibli Blu-rays are insane. Like Ponyo looks so fucking good. Insanely good? Okay. Yeah. So good. Yeah, no, you know, the Transformers home video releases have never been great. They've always jacked them up in some way or another. This version looked fine. Well, they were saying that the widescreen was like, there was like a missing print I read about. And like, so for ages, it was just the like made for TV, like, you know, pan and scan version. No, I have a full screen rather. No, I definitely have a widescreen. Yeah. I need to break out my VHS and see if it even works. It's probably like melted from watching it 1,000 times. Yeah. Well, I was going to say my VH copy's all jacked up. Like they took the shit out. They added like stuff at the end. Like, oh, Optimus Prime didn't really die. There's like a narrator. They hired the narrator to come back and be like,
We fucked up.
for the VHS, like, oh God, what did we do? Because I don't know, to them it was just a cash grab, but like to kids, it was like, and that's like the sort of the duality of this property. It's like, you know, I'm so wistfully nostalgic. Intellectually, I know that it's just a crazy, crass toy commercial, but like emotionally, it's like I'm invested in these characters, even though I know it's dumb. You know,
that's what I'm saying. Coming back to it, from years of not seeing it, like it was enjoyable. Like it had a decent pace. It was like the animation is noteworthy. There's some interesting shots. There's some cool action. It fucking moved me. Like, hell yeah, it was great.
Yeah, all the fight
scenes. It was a great
scenes
rewatch.
Are really well choreographed. The fight with Unicron, some of the animation in it is kind of wonky, but
yeah, because those guys are like, their hands are bleeding.
Yeah,
they haven't left their seat. They're like.
Unicron has so much line mileage to him, so much detail.
Yeah.
And that sequence where he transforms looks really great. And then I think when they're doing the final battle, it's like, oh man, we got to get this thing out. we spent too much time and money on the transformation sequence. Now we got to, all right, that looks okay. Just leave it in.
There's no particular time where the animation, like when we were watching, when we did the heavy metal episode, that animation is like night and day from shot to shot. Like sometimes it's really good and then sometimes it's really bad. Then the line quality is really good and then it's really bad. There are times where the line quality gets particularly good, but not in like where you're like, oh, there's the really good animator.
Yeah.
And draftsman, and then there's
the more even.
Okay,
sure.
one. Yeah, it's pretty even.
It's less. It's not. There are definitely wonky shots in it, but it's not distracting. Like in heavy metal, you're just like, oh my God, like
yeah. That Prince guy is just like,
oh God.
Oh,
I had forgot about that character. So homophobic.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then the Autobots like declare victory somehow at the end. They kill Unicron, so they open up. You know, Hot Rod opens up the Matrix, and somehow that kills Unicron. We're not sure. Unicron's head is now in orbit as the new moon, which is kind of a big thing in the next season of the show. Like,
it's our first. Oh, I wrote down this is our first freeze frame ending.
Oh yeah, it just. You see his head go around and then just freeze frame and
yeah, they're like, it's like on ones too for a while. Like it's really smooth. And then all of a sudden it's just like,
boom,
stop. Freeze frame. Fuck it. Yeah.
We ran out of money.
The animator died. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The animator died of a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. This movie's awesome.
But it made me a nihilist.
I would recommend this to especially animators or people who like animation.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're old enough to see a bunch of characters die horrible deaths.
Yeah.
If you're into the Saw movies, then this won't be too bad.
Yeah.
1 billion sentient creatures, including children, die horribly in the cold open of this movie. Before the credits even roll, we see children dying.
Let's see if there's anything fun in the notes I have. I did write that Hot Rod does have some redemption that needs to be fulfilled here too, because he fucks up. He kind of Prime has.
Yeah, he gets him killed basically.
He gets him killed. Yeah.
I wrote down Autobot fishing ?
Yeah.
Weird physics. We talked about kind of the scale and the weird physics of things.
Well, a different sense of scale or a different meaning of scale. There's an epic scale to this movie, like all the different places they're going and this planet that destroys other planets and how they visually show that.
Well, they definitely expand the universe here. From the TV show, which mainly takes place on Earth, and occasionally they go to Cybertron, but here it's like they're exploring the bigger universe, and it kind of opens up the property to like other things. They discover other life forms and it's all pretty well designed.
Yeah, I love all the color schemes, especially the trash planet, all the warm reds and.
Yeah, Autobots and safe places are generally orange in this, and like
primary.
Yeah, and secondary orange, and then purple for like Decepticons and dangerous places like inside of Unicron and the Quintessons jail cells, kind of purple, and all the Decepticon explosions are purple, but the Autobot explosions are orange. And all their laser blasts are that color too.
Right. Yeah, there's some good separation there. Well, shit, my phone's just said 10%. I mean, I still got a little bit, but maybe we should wrap things up so it's not a complete, like, lose me completely.
This was cathartic. I don't know if it made up for 35 years of therapy, but I feel better now. It was good to get this off my chest. My feelings about this movie have been pent up, and I've been trying to like find the words.
Yeah. I mean, this movie destroyed me as a kid, and but I still came back and watched it 1,000 times.
Yeah, same. Yeah, stealing it.
What's the QAnon slogan? It Psychos.
Till all are one.
No, that's I just was going to say that maybe it's something like with one we all follow or some shit like that.
One shall stand, one will fall.
Yeah. I think that maybe the QAnon people really like.
They're just really into Transformers.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, Transformers.
It's a cultural icon.
Jordan was wondering who the first was going to start crying during the podcast.
I've had a couple shots. I don't know.
So to install the new thing I've been thinking about, what have you been watching?
Season 3 of Cobra Kai.
Nice.
Yeah, the novelty is worn off. It's still watchable. I don't know. Season 1 was pretty amazing. After that, it's just like, that's all right.
Yeah, I started the first episode and my wife didn't like it, so I have to watch it by myself. It's, some point.
I like the whole, like in season 1, the kind of role reversal they do.
Yeah, in the first episode they kind of show that. And that's great.
Like Johnny Lawrence is now kind of the hero and Machio is now kind of the villain.
Yeah.
I like all that. And there's that sort of fan theory about he was really the villain all along. Like if you
I've heard that.
They kind of lean into that, and they lean into it pretty heavy just throughout the series. Like Aisha's gone in season 3 too. Like somehow they got rid. Like Aisha didn't want to come back, and she was like one of my favorite characters. So it's like, all right. But it's still watchable. It's still pretty good.
We started Mr. Mayor, which is Tina Fey's new show with Ted Danson.
Oh,
how is it? I mean, if you like 30 Rock, this is just as good. It's the best thing since 30 Rock that Tina Fey has done.
Okay.
In my opinion, it's hilarious.
Has she done anything else besides her 30 Rock?
She's done like some junky movies and stuff. I don't know. Maybe they weren't like, I don't know. It's so good.
When did 30 Rock
I couldn't Man, it's like 6 or 7 seasons. My wife and I rewatched that. Like, we just throw that on at night and like just rewatch it on repeat, basically. But that's really good. Couldn't
Mr.
recommend
Mayor.
that more, Mr. Mayor. And I watched a Harrison Ford movie I'd never seen before. Presumed Innocent or Presumed Innocence.
Yeah, I know
it's
I've
a court
seen
case
it.
movie, and
I think I've seen it. Who else is in it?
I don't know her real name. It's Presumed Innocent.
Yeah,
From 1990. It's the mom from Die Hard. John McClane's wife.
Oh,
is Harrison Ford's wife.
Bonnie Bedelia.
Yeah. It was okay. It's one of those movies where like it's all explained in like the last 1 minute of the movie. But it was a good watch.
Michelle Pfeiffer's not in that, is she?
No. The only other guy, well, there's two other guys that like stuck out. Brian Dennehy from First Blood.
Okay.
That's who I think, when I think of him. And John Spencer is like a detective buddy in this.
Okay.
He is in all kinds of stuff. He's in Copland, which is a movie I overly like. We'll have to do that one of these days.
Okay.
And another guy, some dude from Deer Hunter. He's like the wedding singer in Deer Hunter. He's in it. Oh, the judge is awesome too. Shit, what's that guy? There's actually a ton of people in that movie. It's good.
I know I've seen it. It rings a bell. There's so many movies I've only seen once, and I've seen so many movies that they all kind of
definitely
blend
sort of
together.
like a forgotten.
I mean,
that's one of those forgotten movies. Oh yeah, Harrison Ford was in that movie.
I remember the name. That's about it. That's about all I remember about it.
Well,
all right.
Tune in next week for this equally perfect movie, Masters of the Universe. And
excited to watch that again.
Oh yeah, it's on Prime.
Yeah.
I have it on DVD as well.
Next, Masters of the Universe from 1987, starring Dolph Lundgren, is next week.
Can't wait.
So, join us.
Yeah, we're really good at ending podcasts. And end.